A day had gone by without me having heard from Abby. I returned to the police station as I had been instructed by the sheriff when I first reported Abby as missing. 24 hours have been wasted. What do these small-town cops even have to do all day? I wondered as I left the motel. We were only supposed to stay a day in this town, in the middle of nowhere. Last night we took a short walk around town, had dinner at one of the Chinese restaurants, and while I wanted to go back to the motel, Abby wanted to go for a walk in the woods while the sun was still out. I'll be fine, go back to the motel. I still curse myself for not going with her. I noticed a bald man with a scar on his left cheek standing outside the police station, staring at me as I entered the building. I found myself once again sitting opposite Sheriff McGill in his rather small office. Before, the sheriff appeared presentable, however now I clearly smelled alcohol on his breath. The mug that said "World's Best Father" was now being used as an ashtray. The sheriff had been smoking quite a lot, judging from the amount of cigarette butts in the mug. "So, still no word from Amy?" McGill said, while pinching the space between his eyes. "Abby," I corrected him. "And no, as I told you yesterday, something is wrong. She wouldn't go hours without contacting anyone," I said with thinly veiled annoyance and impatience in my voice. "Okay, son, here is what's going to happen," McGill said, as he looked at me sternly. "Officers will go search the woods. They are not going to find her." "How can you even—" I tried to interject, as McGill raised his finger. "Let me finish. You are going to go back to your motel room, and you are going to place salt on the window ledges and the doorstep. Later tonight, you'll hear knocking on your door, and Abby will be on the other side of the door. You're not going to open the door. You're not going to let her inside." "Why the hell not?" I shouted, now standing, my face red with fury, at the man. Sheriff McGill handed me a piece of paper with a phone number on it. "Instead, you're going to call this number. I will deal with the situation, and you will not open the door until I tell you to." McGill continued on as if my outburst did not happen. "You'll then leave the woodfall alone, and you'll never speak of this to anyone. To the rest of the world, Abby got lost in the woods. We did our best, but she was never found. Are we clear on that, son?" McGill said with an ominous undertone in his voice. I swung open the door of McGill's office and walked out of it, shouting a number of profanities and accusations at the behest of his intelligence. I saw McGill reaching for his phone and dialing a number. "You're going to need a clean-up at room 3 and prep the others," I heard him say as I stormed out of the sheriff's office. "These small-town idiots are taking me for fools. Lazy assholes can't be bothered to investigate a missing person case. They're probably laughing their asses off," I thought, while crossing the road. Making my way back to the motel, I walked past East Gardens, the restaurant where Abby and I had dinner the night before. "Hey, Jason," I heard from behind me. When I turned around, I saw Jasmine, the waitress from the other night. "What is it with these cops? Abby disappeared when she went for a walk in the woods, and the arseholes aren't lifting a goddamn finger to find her." It began to rain a little, while a sombre expression replaced the cheery one that had been in Jasmine's face only moments ago. "She went missing in the woods, huh? Jason, she should never have gone into those woods. There are things there, old and strange. She's not the first to go missing in those woods, and she won't be the last." "What things?" I asked incredulously. "I couldn't tell you. There are so many stories, and let's be honest, you wouldn't believe any of them anyway, would you?" "No, I wouldn't," I said, walking away from Jasmine and the restaurant with a rapid pace and heavy breathing. Behind me, I heard footsteps keeping pace with my own. Whenever I turned around to look who was following me, there was no one there. I walked past the convenience store and went inside, heading straight for the liquor aisle, grabbed a bottle of vodka from the shelf, and when I turned around to head towards the cashier, I noticed the bald man with the scar on his left cheek entering the store. I stared at him until the man turned around and left. After paying for the vodka, I returned to his motel, struggling to find the keys to my room. I realized they weren't in my pocket. At the front office was an old woman. "I'm sorry, it seems I've lost my room key. Could you please give me a spare?" I asked as I sighed and rubbed my eyes. Sure, no problem, honey. Is everything okay? The woman asked, glaring at the bottle of vodka. Nothing about any of this is okay. I'm sorry. Can I please just get my key? I have a long drive back to New York tomorrow. Sure. I understand the police aren't much help, I take it. Are you going to leave without your girlfriend, though? The woman asked. Doesn't seem like I have much of a choice. But I will go to the police in New York. I'm not giving up on her. The woman nodded. What's your room number again, honey? Old age has made me forgetful. 3. Yes, that's right, 3. Here you go. As I reached out for the key, I noticed a bag of salt on the floor behind the desk. And as I turned around to leave the front office, I noticed salt at the front ledges and at the doorstep. Angered by this superstition, I made a point to break up the line of salt at the doorstep out of spite. Once back in my room, I made quick work of the vodka, and vice versa, as soon as I passed out drunk on the bed. While I slept, the rain intensified. I woke up when lightning just hit outside the motel. I woke up drenched in sweat. The room was hot, musty, and humid. As I stumbled to the bathroom to take painkillers for my throbbing headache, I noticed there was salt on the window ledges and at the doorstep. Someone had been in my room whilst I was passed out drunk for this stupid superstition. That arsehole, I said to myself as I remembered the bald man who'd been following me. When checking my pockets, if he had stolen anything, I noticed my car key and wallet were gone. The only thing left in the pocket was a piece of paper with the phone number Sheriff McGill had given me and the spare room key. Another flash of lightning forced my attention back to the window. I noticed on the outside of the window at least a dozen flies had gathered on it. They were more than twice the size of any fly I'd ever seen. Faintly, in the distance, I heard a low humming sound that quickly became louder, and I noticed the glass on the window started vibrating. The rain let up abruptly as more flies gathered on the window, when suddenly I heard a gentle but loud knocking on the door. When I approached the door, a foul odour overwhelmed me, sour and putrid, and something else I could not quite put my finger on, nor did I really want to. I rushed to the bathroom, no longer being able to resist the urge to throw up. "Get lost!" I yelled to the person on the other side of the door as I got up from the bathroom floor. "But Jason, it's me!" For a moment, it felt like time froze. I was delighted and overjoyed to hear Abby's voice. I rushed to the door and swung it open. Abby's legs were covered in long, deep lacerations, with a rash spreading around them. Her clothes were torn and stained with mud, blood, and other things I couldn't quite make out, and the awful smell now entered the room with full force. Flies buzzed around her. "What happened? Are you okay? How did you get those wounds?" I asked in quick succession. "I'm fine, Jason. I would just like to come inside. Can I come inside?" Abby replied in an oddly monotonous manner. "Of course you can." I paused. Looking down, I noticed smoke rising from the ground. The line of salt at the doorstep, it had begun to turn black and burnt smell rose up from it. "Can I come inside, Jason?" Abby repeated in the same monotonous voice. For a moment I pondered on the absurdity of this all. Why was she asking permission to come inside? How did McGill know this was going to happen? And what is going on with the now black salt? "Can I come inside, Jason?" Before I could answer her, I heard a loud bang coming from behind Abby, and she fell forward on her knees, letting out a high-pitched, inhuman scream. I saw McGill standing behind her, shotgun in hand, and pointed at Abby. Before I realised what was going on, he had reloaded, and there was another loud bang. This time he shot her in the back of the head, and she fell to the ground, screeching and convulsing before Abby became silent and would never move again. The flies flew away. I looked at him with tears in my eyes, understanding that while this was not Abby as I had known her, I did not know what was going on. "Rock salt," McGill said. He then pointed towards Abby's lifeless body. "Look, Jason, look at the shot wounds. Tell me what you see." For reasons that are still not entirely clear to me, I looked, and I saw writhing, blood-red, star-shaped plants woven through her body. Still weeping over Abby, I looked back up at McGill. These are evil plants, son. Somehow they got inside her out in the woods. She died shortly after. This was not Abby, but a poor imitation by these plants, moving her body around like a puppet. If you'd led her inside, you would have ended up like her as well, McGill said, while looking down at Abby's body. The plants had turned black and started to wither. Out of the front office came the bald man, now wearing a police uniform, handing me my keys and wallet back. I'm really sorry about all of this. We couldn't let you leave until this was dealt with. She would have followed you. We can't let it spread beyond the town, the man said. Now listen, son. Do not try to make any sense of this. You're not going to be able to. Take it from me. I've dealt with this before, McGill said, while looking dazed up at the sky. Now we will take care of the body, and Abby will be another person that tragically got lost in the woods, right? I did not answer. Son, I'm gonna need to hear you say it. Abby got what? Lost in the woods, I replied numbly. But I cannot just keep quiet and let so many others meet the same fate as Abby. Now, I suspect a certain sheriff will be dropping by soon. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to support this channel, we have a link in the description for that. Don't forget to give a subscribe, a like, and press the bell to get notifications. Tell us your thoughts in the comments section. You can also send us your real or fictional horror stories.